I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Fisher?
Here. Here.
Here.
Good.
Here. Okay. The notice requirements for the open public meeting law for this meeting have been satisfied. A copy of the notice having been sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Coaster and filed at the office of the Township Clerk on July 25th, 2018. Emergency notice. There is an emergency exit through the courtroom doors and 2 exits at the rear. No smoking. Board policy. No new cases started after 11 p.m. No new testimony taken after 11:30 p.m. In addition, the applicant must be limited to 45 minutes of testimony. All meetings will be video and audio taped and shown on the Township of Ocean Community Cable Channel 22 on Verizon Fios Channel 77 on Cablevision. All cell phones must be turned off. If you need to make a call, please make your call outside the meeting room.
That's the yes. There's site.
Well, we're not going to appoint Gino, are we? He's not here.
Not here. He's on vacation.
Yeah, he gets to take vacation.
I saw that. Yeah.
I need minutes for approval. February 21st, 2019, regular meeting. Somebody please offer.
I offer.
Second?
Second.
Amy, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Case is carried to May 16th, 2019. Richard D. Pearso, Block 122, Lot 8, 16 Wanamassa Point Road, Wanamassa. Fahar and Rebecca Salome, Block 22, Lot 44.02, 249 Overbrook Avenue, Oakhurst. Aaron and Allison Morgan, Block 60.02, Lot 7, 27 Burns Road, West Allenhurst. Abraham and Yvette Hiddery, Block 22, Lot 101, 10 Portage Path, Deal Park. Case is carried to June 20th, 2019. 485 South Edgemere Drive, LLC, Block 76, Lot 5, 485 South Edgemere Drive, West Allenhurst. Morris Dweck, Block 43, Lot 1 and 2, 300 Parker Avenue, Deal Park. Resolution and memorializations. They're posted on the wall. Seeing that no one would like me to read them in full, I'm going to... Can I offer all 3 of these, Mark?
They all have the same votes? Do you know? Okay, 1, 2, 6. Okay, the only change that I would... If all the people are... Everybody voted that night. Everybody was here that night. Of the 4 people that are here tonight, they were here. It was in February. Okay. The only thing you need to add is that on JACA LLC and 62 Monmouth Road, in addition to uses and bulks, there is a site plan resolution, which it's posted. I just counted. It's got to be up there because that would make a total of 8.
Okay.
So it's there. So it's also a site plan for each one.
Site plan for
Each one. But JACA as use variance approval, bulk variance approval, and site plan approval, as well as 62 Monmouth Road LLC. We're approving the use, the bulk, and the site plan.
Okay.
I will offer all 3.
There's 4.
4.
Well, I have to read them, please. Russell B. Williams, Block 115, Lot 1, 1901 Sunset Avenue, Wanamassa, bulk variance approval. Manuel and Maria Guillemar, Block 31, Lot 60, 2004 Henston Street, Oakhurst, bulk variance approval. JACA LLC, Block 25.27, Lot 10, 184 Monmouth Road, Oakhurst, use variance, bulk variance, and site plan. And the last one is 62 Monmouth Road, LLC, Block 26.04, Lots 3 and 41, 62 Monmouth Road, 360 West Park Avenue, Oakhurst, site plan.
I'll offer.
I'll second.
Amy, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 First case is Jack Franco, block 8, lot 11.01, 33 Farm Road, Oakhurst, R1. This is an application to keep an existing 214 square foot shed with needed variances for minimum side yard and rear yard setback. Jennifer, I take it you're taking Peter's.
Yes, I'm taking Peter's place this evening.
Can we mark, Amy, will you please mark the packet? Bill, do you have a report?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't have any real engineering problem as long as any permits that are needed are obtained retroactively, notwithstanding planning considerations.
Okay.
And basically, I have two reports, one of which isn't in the packet because it was done back in October, and I don't think Amy even realized it was there because of the switch in secretaries. But basically, my October report says that they require, because it's 214 square feet, it requires the setback of the principal building, which is 10 feet on the side, 30 feet in the rear. And I recommended in that report that because it's not much greater than 150 square feet, which is the cutoff, that it could be 10 feet from each property line. The applicant seems to feel that it's appropriate where it is. I also had a subsequent report because they submitted a landscape plan showing some grasses between the shed and the one property line. That said, those grasses are satisfactory. So I guess the real issue is whether there are planning reasons for keeping the shed that close to the property line, which is at 1.6 feet, I think it is, from the property line.
Jennifer, you're up.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. How are you?
Good.
Good. Let me start with saying there's no hardship here, other than the personal hardship on behalf of the applicant that you'll hear through his testimony in a moment. But what I hope to show you tonight is that leaving it where it is in the context of this neighborhood and what else is existing, it's most definitely a better zoning alternative where it is, as opposed to putting it into a conforming location.
1.6 feet.
So if I can just move into evidence A1 is the shed location plan by Chet Sermont. It's revised through 2/28/19.
Yeah, that's the side, that's at that corner.
You're gonna hear tremendous things. And then A2 are two photos which I printed out from Google Earth. One is an aerial, and the second one is a shot of the house looking up the driveway. And as you'll hear as I go through, the conforming location for the shed would be behind where that basketball net is. Before I introduce my client, if you look at the first page, you have the house at 33, just to orient you, the house at 33 Old Farm Road. You have a huge row of trees in the backyard, a huge row of trees in the side yard, and an additional row of trees were added. And then behind it, in the corner, is all mature trees. And where the shed is located is back in this corner, basically up against the trees and these other accessory structures. There's only one real area where it's exposed to anything, and that's the area where the revised plans show proposed grasses that are going to grow and completely shield it from view from anybody. But before we go into why it's most appropriate there, I'd like to introduce my client and just have him explain to you how we got here. So
Yes, so thank you for having me today. My name is Jack Franco.
Please,
You have to be
please raise your
sworn
right
in.
hand.
Of course.
You affirm to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address.
Jack Franco, 33 Old Farm Road, Oakhurst, New Jersey.
You can continue now, Mr. Franklin.
all right,
Thank
so
you.
Jack, you own the property.
Yes,
That's
I
the
do.
subject. And when you purchased the shed, it was from a contractor who had indicated to you they were going to obtain all permits and take care of everything and do it properly.
Correct. So they were going to install it, deliver it, get the permits, and simply I would just get the keys and be able to lock the shed when I got it.
Okay. And once it was put down and you were finishing up the work in your backyard and you wanted to get a C of O, you discovered that you didn't know until then that it was a non-conforming situation.
Correct. That's correct. I did not know. There was actually an existing shed at the property before I purchased it. So that shed was there and in the wrong spot. It was actually on my neighbor's property. So we knew we had to get rid of that shed. And this was the new shed that we put in. And they had conformed. They said they conformed to all the requirements, but lo and behold, we haven't had to see a vote for those.
Okay, so, and I know it's not shown on the plan, but if you're looking at the plan, you see the shed in the back left corner. To the right of the shed, there's additional landscaping that shields that shed from anybody's view,
Correct.
including your own.
Correct. We were very cognizant of the neighbors and even our own view of the shed, so the three sides of the shed are completely blocked, much higher than even the shed height itself.
With the exception of the back of the shed.
Correct.
And because there's such a limited area there, you've agreed, and we show on the plans the grass buffer that will grow in, and you'll maintain that to make sure that there's no.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when you and I talked, and I looked at this, and I said, this is not an easy case because you have a big yard and you have other places to put it. We talked about so in order to you couldn't move the shed forward because there's existing pool equipment there, correct?
Correct.
And the one place where it would be permitted would be over on the other side in the open area. And there it would be basically taking up the middle of your
It
yard.
would be in the middle of the property and visible from the street.
Right. So aside from the fact that it would, again, the hardship doesn't fall on, or the zoning doesn't fall on its impact on you, but on the neighbors, as it sits there, basically it would be right in the direct view as you're looking down the driveway.
Is the pool there now?
Yes, the pool's there.
So there's no pool in this picture.
No, I'm sorry. That's that's all at Google Earth. The shed's not there either.
The property behind this house, is that buildable?
Yeah, so I could, if you look at the area zoning map, on the same owner owns lot 10, and they also own that lot 13.01.
Correct. And there is a home there already.
And there is an existing home there, and they were noticed. I know that it's not admissible. He wanted to write a letter indicating that he wasn't, that he was in favor of this and had no objection, but I knew it wasn't admissible, so I did not bring that with me. So basically, it's in the most out-of-the-way position possible with the least amount of interference to the neighbors and to the homeowner himself. With young children and a swing set, and if he put it right in the middle, he wouldn't be able to even see the kids on the swing set from the pool deck. So we're basically asking the board to consider allowing us to keep it maintained there with the restriction that all of the landscaping buffering it completely from view be maintained at all times as a condition of approval.
I don't see it as a real negative impact. My only concern is that there were positive reasons.
I don't see that there's a real negative impact either. I think there's a lot of growth around that area.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like you're even going to be able to see it.
And the house right next to it, quite frankly, isn't in the best of condition either. The one that would be most impacted. It looks like a rental.
I kind of can see that, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And it's completely on the other side from where the pool is to, and your neighbor.
Right.
The.
If you were there and you saw it, there literally is a wall of trees.
Okay.
You can't see through it. And I think the positive reasons really are that in a conforming location, it would be more visible to everybody on the street.
So this is the most aesthetic.
Aesthetic reason.
Without a doubt, it's invisible.
Okay. What do you gentlemen
I
think?
just have a quick question.
Sure.
It's just a shed.
It's just a shed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You store things. You
Yes.
No
store-
utilities.
No utilities, nothing. It's just a shed. Just, furniture and
Stuff.
ladders and...
It's actually awkward to even get to from his yard.
It
The way
is.
he put trees around it so even he can't see
I can
it.
barely get to it.
It's not convenient to anybody.
So is there actually it's a foot and a half, okay? Do you need any maintenance room around it?
It's actually a half a foot.
It's a corner, though. It's not
One
square.
corner, yeah, it's not
What-
parallel to the property line. It's a half a foot at one corner.
Okay.
It's vinyl sided, Mr. There's nothing to do to it.
Okay.
By the time it needs to be repaired, it will be replaced.
Anybody else have a
Well,
question?
do we want a condition also that if it's destroyed?
Yeah, that's fine. If it's destroyed, we agree that the variance is specific to this shed, and if it's destroyed, any new shed would have to be
Okay.
in a conforming location.
We're back for
Does the shed kind of match the same color of the house?
It has the black roof. My house has a black roof.
Okay.
Yes, it's
And
probably nicer than my house.
The color of the shed is
yes,
Like a
close?
tan.
Tan. My house is like a.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay. Any questions? Anyone from the public to be heard? I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing. Please call the roll. I need a second.
That was my second.
Please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Oh, was that not? Oh, I thought you were just closing the public
Close
hearing.
the public.
Oh, okay.
Close the public hearing.
Eric looked at me. I thought
Action.
that was the vote.
I offer for a positive resolution.
Second.
Amy, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Thank,
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Next case is case number 2, Orrin Linder, block 40.03, lot 3, 608 Deal Road, Ocean, R3. This is an application to keep an existing in-ground patio, a vinyl fence constructed without the benefit of zoning approvals, and with necessary variances for rear yard setback as well as a maximum height for a fence which is higher than 6 feet. How are you?
Good, thank you. Nervous a little bit.
Amy, please mark the packet. You're going to testify?
Sorry?
You will be testifying?
Yes, sir.
Please raise your right hand. You affirm to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record.
In there, 608 Deal Road, Ocean Township, New Jersey, 07712.
Okay. Bill, do you have a report?
I do. I have, I'm just looking through the packet quickly. So what they've included, this has been going on for some time, but they've included my latest report, dated April 6th. It says the supplemental submission,
You can
which
sit
is
down.
Sorry?
You can sit down.
part of your packet. It's a retaining wall detail prepared by applicant structural engineer. Addresses none of the concerns of my prior correspondences to the board, and I had a review dated 1/16/19, which paraphrased or quoted reviews from last spring. Does, however, verify, excuse me, that applicant entered and performed work upon adjacent lot 12 to the south, including removing trees, excavation, construction of permanent structural retaining wall improvements, and installation of fencing without residents' written consent or obtaining a permanent easement for maintenance of the installed improvements. At this time, my engineering recommendation is for the board to deny the requested variances with prejudice and direct applicant to remove all non-conforming conditions from his property and restore adjacent lot 12 in all respects to the condition it was in prior to the construction. Work should be completed within 45 days of the board's vote.
Jim.
Okay. I have two reports. One was actually last February, over a year ago. And that talks about the fact that they required a variance for the combined fence wall height. And that they also required a variance for the pool surround being 6 feet instead of the required 10 feet. In January of this year, revised plans were submitted that apparently eliminated the variance for the fence, combined fence wall height by putting the fence on the ground in front of the wall instead of on top of the wall. So it was only 6 feet high. And also eliminated the variance for the pool surround. So that has to be clarified, because I'm not sure whether they still need those variances or not. According to the last plan I reviewed, they don't. But they do need a variance for a change of grade of more than 2 feet.
Okay.
Okay. So that's where it stands now. I don't have any planning concerns with that variance, but if Bill has engineering concerns, then it's something that has to be addressed.
Okay.
So we do need clarification as to what variances are being requested now.
Okay. So Mr. Linder, am I correct in assuming you didn't have any permits to remove trees or construct a wall or any of this?
According to the Ocean Township, you're allowed to remove 4 trees without a permit. Am I correct, Mr. Kerr?
Not from someone else's property.
You can't go on someone else's property and do it.
The owner of 608 Deal Road and 46 White Road was the same owner. Mr. Raymond Saka owned
Doesn't
both
matter.
properties. I have a written letter from him that he wrote down that he allowed me to do any form that work that I need to do over there for both properties. It's right here by him by email.
Well, I can't. He's not here. I can't.
Well,
He got on a flight from China. He couldn't be here right now.
let me see the letter. It can be offered for identification, but we can't cross-examine him. So his
But
testimony doesn't. His statement doesn't.
but wait, who owns the property? Do you own this
I
property?
bought the property from Mr. Saka.
Okay.
He owned both properties at the time of the construction. As well for the wall of the. My apology.
So, what? Okay, I think we
But-
should hear what you have to say because I'm very confused.
But I think what we're hearing also is that there was no applications or permits to do stuff on the other property either.
No.
No.
So even if he owned both properties,
In Ocean Township, New Jersey, you're not required a permit for retaining wall under 4 feet. Am I correct, Mr. Kirk?
It's a
We went through
variance for a
that.
change of
Change
grade
of
of
grade.
2 feet or more. That's the problem.
What is the
And that's not true. I don't know about a permit. You don't need a
Me-
variance.
Me and you sat down with Mr. Kirk in a
Right.
meeting with the engineer.
Right, and we told
And
you
you
that.
told me, I showed you the paperwork from Ocean Township, and you told me and my engineer and Mr. Kick, I was not aware that in Ocean Township, you don't need a permit under 4 feet, and we should change it. We should work on changing that ordinance. Or
You
whatever
don't
it's
need
called.
calculations under 4 feet.
You don't need a permit under 4 feet.
I think you need.
You need a permit to change elevation by 2 feet or more. You need a variance.
Change any elevation.
You absolutely did.
The elevation was changed, Bill?
Yes.
And it was more than 2 feet.
Yes.
So you need it.
What do you mean by elevation? I'm sorry, elevation of what?
elevation? If you change the elevation in your
The grade.
property for the
My
grade of
property
your
did not change anything. On any property, I did not change anything. I have a proof of the pictures of before and after, and
Well,
there was not. Do you have the elevation of before that you're saying I changed something? Can I provide you pictures of how it was before and now?
well, you can enter them. You
Whatever
have
you
to,
need to do. It's your hearing.
you have to tell us what the pictures are.
All right.
let's get a little foundation. When did you purchase the property?
About in I think it's September of last year.
9/18? September
About
2018?
17, I think. I don't remember off the top of my head right now.
2017. So about a year and a half ago.
Correct. I think
Okay.
so.
That's when you purchased the property. You purchased it from Mr. Saka?
Right.
Okay.
And
Wait, I just
go ahead.
And when did you do this work?
Prior to that,
When prior?
I think in 2006, 17, 16, we bought he bought the property, and I started doing the work. And then with the work completed and we passed all inspection and everything, I purchased the property from him.
Well, how could you have inspections if you didn't have any
Right.
permits?
No, there were no inspections performed.
There was permits for everything. There was inspection for all the construction and everything, and we had a special approval from the township to purchase the property with the pool permit still open while I'm gonna take care of the pool permit.
I want to see that.
Do you have that? We've
I
never.
wouldn't be able to close on the house otherwise. They wouldn't do the CO and they wouldn't transfer.
So you're saying that you did the construction while all this work while Mr. Saka owned the property?
Correct. With the proper permits on every little thing that I did in the house. Every screw that was inside, there's a permit for electrical, for plumbing, for everything that was.
We're having a conversation specific to a retaining wall. Let's
Okay.
keep it to that. You had no permit for the retaining wall.
Not required
You
for
had-
permit.
Who says it's not? You're saying
Ocean
it's-
Township has a
No,
regulation.
You
absolutely
changed the
wrong.
grade. You changed the grade more than 2 feet.
For, what is the grade? The height of the retaining wall?
The height.
The height of the
dirt-
land.
Right.
Not on my property, on the other property. I did not change any grade
Okay.
than 2 feet.
Do you have a topo of the property in 216 and do you have a topo of the property now? Both
46, the white, right?
the
Or,
to-
my, or 608 Deal Road.
both.
On,
Both.
On my property?
Both.
Yeah, your property.
Why would I have any?
Because you went on that property and you did work. You moved land.
I just moved 2 trees over there.
You changed the grade.
But you moved trees on someone else's property.
Well, no, that would have been
It was on-
Mr. Saka's at the time.
But not moved.
No proof. of it
Removed.
here. This is
Yeah.
crap.
I-
Not moved. Removed trees.
You have
Trees
copies.
was also one of them is about to fall and was like I have pictures I can show you the condition of the trees.
I,
Can I submit anything that somebody can take a look at them? Would I submit it to?
Well, let me see what you have, and we'll label them.
This is the old retaining wall.
Oh, well, that doesn't. This doesn't. These are just. When were they taken? Who took these pictures?
I did.
Okay. And when did you take them?
And before we start removing stuff.
Well,
Please
give me-
speak into the microphone because
I'm
you're
sorry.
being
Before
recorded.
we start removing the old retaining wall. If you see the angle of the retaining
No,
wall, the
no,
old-
before you go into that, when were these pictures taken? Give me a date.
I don't have exact date right now on me.
A screenshot 2018 0611. Does that sound right?
And what again? This is screenshot on my phone.
It says 2018 0611, which would be June 11th, 2018.
Most likely not. That's probably was screenshot for my cell phone, not when the time picture was taken.
So we don't know when these pictures were taken.
We can come back in another meeting and I can dig on my computer on my camera and information when they were taken.
Okay, because
First of all, please speak into the
I
microphone.
apologize.
You're too
I'm
far
sorry.
away.
It's the first time I'm here. Hopefully not again.
Se-
so how
second of all, I don't understand.
well they existed. He's saying
This gentleman didn't own the property.
It's
And
2
he did
feet,
work on the
now
property.
4 feet.
That's what he's stating, correct?
This is a 2-foot wall. There's now a 4-foot wall there.
okay.
So
This is not a 2-foot wall.
It's 3 courses. This is your picture.
There's
It's
a
3
lot of
courses
blocks
of
on the
block.
floor that was taken from the top.
There's what?
You see the blocks on the floor? They weren't taken from under the ground. They were taken from the top of the wall.
That's 4 courses. You can't. I mean,
Do you have any
there's gaps
proof?
in the middle.
Do you have? You're
can't-
saying I changed it by 2 feet. Do you have any proof that I changed it by 2 feet?
I have. What we have is a sworn statement by your engineer that you have something on someone else's property that exists today without any easement, and it's part of your wall.
Where
It's the
is
geogrid.
the sworn statement that you?
It's the geogrid from your wall.
You even told me that the gentleman next to you asked something that's stating there was
Okay.
an engineer plan that's stating that the retaining wall and on top of it there's a
let's not
vinyl
go
rod.
back and forth accusing
No, but it's very
people.
important
Let's
because
start-
it's
let's
not about
start the following.
accusing and the
Let's
gentleman.
start the following, okay? At one point, before we get to this, and we'll do something with these. At one point, you revised the plan, and you removed the height of one wall around the pool, and the pool surround was changed. Where are those plans?
Sorry, can you repeat that question, please?
Okay, you resubmitted a revised plan.
That's exactly what I was about to talk about.
Okay. And when is that dated?
That's dated 12/3/18.
Okay, and that is, does that correspond to the zoning officer's report?
Yes, it does.
Okay, that's what
I think it's
I'm.
December 18th.
Let's start with that, so that we can see what variances are necessary,
Yes.
okay? I'm totally confused. So where's her report? So, the zoning officer says. The first thing should be photos, letter from applicant, engineer's inspection. And, okay. The problem is that she didn't. Okay, the zoning officer's letter is dated December 13th. It says, I reviewed the documentation, final survey dated 9/12/17. Retaining wall construction details and pictures of rear property. The existing pool patio surrounds, okay? And she says that he needs approval for a 6-foot vinyl fence installation on top of the 4-foot. So the zoning officer hasn't reviewed the amended plans.
No,
And-
she has. She has.
Well, we don't have a
But
report
she,
from.
she,
Okay,
she misunderstood the plan. She and I discussed
okay.
that she thought that the height, the combined height of the fence and the wall was still necessary. And then when she and I discussed it, she realized it wasn't. That's why my report says it's not necessary. Her report says it is, but in reality, and a subsequent discussion with her showed that it wasn't. So my report says that variance is no longer necessary. But that has nothing to do with the 2-foot grade
Okay,
change.
so this is dated 4/10/17. You purchased the property after that?
Sorry, what was the date again?
When did you purchase the property? This is amended 12/3/18.
I can look on my phone if you want. I can look at the HUD when the date was the closing.
Well,
Give you a more accurate
this
date.
says Raymond Sacca residence.
I bought it from Mr. Raymond Saka. Everything was started under his name, correct? And then I purchased it after, with the wall and permits not finished. The pool permit was not closed because of the retaining wall,
That's what he was saying.
with the zoning issue of the fence above the retaining wall.
That's what he says.
Now, regards to the question of the gentleman on to your left that asked how come we have one plan when the vinyl fence is above the retaining wall, and then there's a revised plan with the retaining wall is in front of the vinyl fence is in front of the retaining wall. As me, Mr. Kirk, and the engineer, the town engineer to your left, sorry I don't remember your name. My apologies. With my engineer, we sat down in the meeting over here in the township, and the engineer and Mr. Kirk said to me that if you move the vinyl fence,
Then the maximum.
nobody listened to me.
They're in X amount
I'm
of
listening.
each other, it counts.
They said that if I move the vinyl fence in front of the retaining wall, then it's not a zoning issue anymore.
So
It's not above.
Well, let me ask a question. You needed a retaining wall at some point, right? This
I-
says proposed retaining wall.
The retaining wall was there. It was collapsing. I
Why
wasn't.
does it say proposed retaining wall on the plans?
I'm not the engineer.
Was there a
I mean, it's your
wall
plan.
there when you purchased the property?
That's the picture I just gave them. Yeah, the wall falling apart. In 2012 in Sandy, a tree fell down over there, knocked third of the wall completely. That's what you can see that probably in the picture.
Why did you need a retaining wall?
Because of
He's
the
saying that
46
existing
Dwight.
is collapsing.
I understand that, but is the grade that much different from?
Yeah, the grades are tough back there.
So-
but
so-
but yeah, I believe I don't have an as-built of exactly what's there now.
Okay.
We have an as-built.
Is it part of the application?
I submitted it. What they asked me for, the township, everything, the zoning. I submitted an as-built.
No, nothing more than this. From 4/10/17.
This is just
No, I submitted an as-built,
This is
final
revised
as-built and everything.
December. You may have
December.
submitted to the building department, but didn't submit it to the
I wasn't requested then,
this board.
probably.
Well, you know.
I wasn't. Nobody requested me.
Were there building permits issued in 2017?
No, there was no zoning. The building won't issue permits without zoning approvals. So I would.
This is where we're stuck.
Well, there's still been a change of grade of 2 feet, and they're required to have.
If we can,
variance.
I can bring an elevation certification by the house that behind me on 46 Dwight and my house, and we'll see that her house that she purchased from Raymond Saka, the lady on my left, is even more than 4 feet. Is maybe 6 feet. It's even 2 feet above the retaining wall. So how did I raise the elevation by 2 feet if her level ground of a house is about 6 foot above my land?
Well, what this
She has a kamikaze.
what this final
land.
survey says, or it starts to show, and nothing's very clear on any of this. I won't call it on this paperwork.
I could.
This
I
is
wanna-
dated. This is excuse me.
Yeah.
This is dated 9/12/2017. Of course.
Right.
Okay. It shows right below where it says Lot 3 at the southeast corner of Mr. Linder's property now. Shows a spot elevation of 49.9 on the ground and a spot elevation on top of the wall of 51.7. That's something less than 2 feet.
Right.
Now, there's not a whole lot more detail in that. So without a topo of exactly what's there now, and based on, the photograph, Mr. Linder's saying the blocks that are on the ground fell from the top, but there's also gaps in the middle and there's no blocks. So someone carried them. It's just pretty hard to add it up. But I think that fundamentally, there's two issues as I see it. Did he change the grade or not? If he didn't, he may not need a variance, but the issue of improvements that his engineer swears to existing on someone else's property is an issue.
Sorry, do you have anything that proves that he swears? to
Yeah, I
it?
absolutely do. The statement that
That the
you just
grade
filed.
was changed?
I'm going to read it to you. This is a detail of the wall.
Okay.
It shows the geogrid extending back about 4 or 5 feet behind the wall. That's the support of the wall. Now he has a statement that's signed and sealed by him. And by the way, if you look at your survey, the wall is not 4 feet from the property line. So anything that extends back behind it 4 feet is on the other property. Having said that, this is dated. Well, it's not dated, but it's signed by Amin El Tohami, PE, professional engineer, New Jersey license 398350.
Date on top, March 13th.
March 13th.
Oh, I'm sorry, it is dated. I was looking at the stamp in. I'm sorry. Okay, we were retained by Mr. Arn Lender to inspect the structural stability of the retaining wall construction located at the above referenced location. We visited the property on March 13th, 2019, and we inspected construction of the retaining wall. See attached plans. As per our visual inspection of the segmented block retaining wall and Mr. Linder first-hand knowledge of the wall construction, the wall was constructed as per attached plans and can support the imposed loads.
Correct.
Right.
Everything is correct.
And the plan shows, if you believe it, that the geogrid is on someone else's property.
Not somewhere else. At the time of construction, it's the same person's property.
Who owns the property?
At that construction time?
No, I don't
Raymond
care.
Saka.
It's not there. Well,
Raymond
they're
Saka, doesn't matter.
they're
Raymond
two
Saka owned the
separate-
property.
They're two separate lots. It doesn't matter if Mr. Saka owned both pieces of property.
You can't
This is
construct-
ridiculous. I think you have to go and get
What it does essentially
documentation
is merge the lots.
and right, and merge the lots. So I think you have to go and get documentation and come back here in 30 days and know what you're talking about, because that wall's right now, if we vote, the wall's coming down.
Can I ask a question though?
Sure.
If the reason first originally I moved the plans from the vinyl fence from the top of the retaining wall to the bottom of the retaining wall, because the engineer told me with Mr. Cake to remove it over there, I would not be in the zoning and this all be gonna cancelled. Then I told them I cannot move the vinyl fence from the top to the bottom because it's a hazard. Somebody can fall down and get hurt. So then a month later, or 2 months later, he gave me a letter. You cannot do that. I sat down with Mr. Kick in his office, and he told me you cannot do that because it's dangerous. I told them in the meeting. He told me put brushes over there, put spikes over there. Nobody gonna get near to it. If you remember, that's what he told me.
You got to put a guardrails, but you got to put if you have to drop it 30 inches.
But
that's code.
really,
but
I
what I'm
don't
trying to
care
say is
about
I agree
the
with you.
vinyl fence.
But we don't need the permits for the
But
retaining wall.
I don't care about the vinyl fence. The wall is on someone else's property, according to my
The
engineer.
wall is in my property. It's not someone else's property.
Part of the wall is on someone else's property.
Part of the wall is
Stone in the dirt behind it.
The support
yes.
for the wall is part of the wall. It's on the adjacent property. It's not on your property.
With
It
all due
doesn't matter
respect,
whether it's above ground or below ground.
maybe we should hear from the adjacent property. Going to make statements because we maybe get the other side of it and help to determine how to go
we
forward.
could gain
but
clarification.
don't we need topos and don't we need?
Yeah, the problem is you can't get a topo of what existed before he did all of this.
Okay.
How would you get that?
So you just assume that I raised it by 2
Stop.
feet.
Stop. You know, I'm
Why
having
are you
a
being
dialogue.
so-
Excuse me. I'm having a dialogue with the
Yeah,
chairman.
but you cut me 10 times.
Mr. Linder, please.
So it's impossible to come up with a topo
Right.
unless Mr. Saka happens to have it from when he had the property.
So, where's the pool survey?
It's unlikely, but it could be a possibility.
7 feet,
So
but
I think you need to
zoning
hear
law is
from
allowed to have 3
the
feet.
resident who was probably there a fairly long time
Pool strip.
and knows
That's not
the
considered
condition,
patio.
regardless of
What?
changes of ownership.
So that,
You can hear another side of it, and then maybe we can figure out what Mr. Linder has to put together, if anything,
Okay, because I'm
to
pretty.
either get this out of here or get it get permitted or whatever.
Because I think we're pretty confused about this, right? Yeah. Okay. So I'd like to hear from the resident. Can you step up to the microphone? That one. I have to swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Ellen Avis. My address is 46 Dwight Drive. I'm living in that house for 40 years.
And you were at the house behind this gentleman?
46 Dwight Drive.
Okay. Please.
I'm a little nervous. Would it be okay if I read
Sure.
something?
Sit down if you'd like
You
also.
could sit down if you want.
Sit right there. Sit down.
Okay, I'm good here. I've been waiting 2 years since he did the work 2 years ago. I've lost the use of my backyard. Thank you for letting me speak. Mr. Chairman and board members, I'm the owner of 46 Dwight Drive, block 40.03, lot 12, Ocean Township, and my property shares a common boundary line with Mr. Linder. I strongly object to his application. My objection is well known to Mr. Kirk and his department, and now that the matter is finally being heard, I'm putting my objections down on paper and reading into the record. I've been living in my house all those years, and there has been a retaining wall flush with the common rear boundary. And you're right, Mr. Fitzgerald, there were wings always on the side of that property supporting that wall. That was taken down by Mr. Linder, coming onto my property, taking that down, and never putting it back.
It wasn't your property that time.
Excuse me?
Excuse me.
Please don't interrupt her.
Please,
Just
please,
continue.
Sorry.
continue.
All this time, I never had any issue in 40 years with my backyard or the retaining wall or water management. My backyard was stable. I never had any issues with my neighbors to the rear of the wall, with the fence or with the trees or anything else. 40 years, I never had a problem. Now, the yard is sliding downward and disappearing at a rapid rate. It's unsafe. I can't even let my grandchildren play in it because at the edges you step on it and it's hollow underneath now because of the erosion, because now there's no water management. There are nothing to absorb the water that runs off when it rains. There's a constant daily erosion of my rear yard, and rainwater backs up into one corner of my basement even. Before it was totally absorbed into the soil. After Mr. Linder did his work, he dumped construction sand. He took, well, I better read it because I'm getting emotional and that's not good. My topsoil is receding and being washed away. I can't plant or seed. Mr. Linder recently bought the property and did the work. When he started to work on it, he repeatedly assured me that he was going to do everything properly, that he was going to improve the retaining wall, that there would be no negative effect on my property, and that he would restore anything that was disturbed. And he led me to believe that he had the approvals of the township. Instead, he's before you asking for these approvals for whatever he did after the fact, 2 years after the fact. He lied to me about what he was doing and about getting approvals. He lied to me about the effect it would have on my property. He lied to me about correcting and restoring it. What he did was to remove the retaining wall and take away my trees and the shrubs. They might not have been in great shape, but they had roots and they were holding everything together, the shrubs that were in front of it. He took my soil that was then exposed. When he took the fence down, and he took the retaining wall down, my entire backyard was exposed to him, 4 feet high. 4 feet deep, all along the wall. He cut off that chunk of black dirt, rich soil, and he said, don't worry, don't worry. I'm going to backfill it. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to plant trees and shrubs for you. Don't worry, it's going to be so beautiful, you're not going to believe it. Now I had a trench 4 foot deep along the entire length of where that retaining wall had been. The trench remained on my side, and what he filled it with was construction debris. I have some photos on my phone if you ever want to see it. I lived like that for months. He didn't do anything about it. He refused to remove it. I had to pay somebody to remove the construction debris, but I couldn't get rid of all the construction sand that he dumped there or all the rocks. It was too costly. I paid to have 4 inches of topsoil put, and I seeded the whole thing so I could have grass so the whole thing wouldn't just disappear. I read the January 16th, 2019 letter Mr. Fitzgerald wrote, and he has a whole list of information that Mr. Linder was supposed to have provided with his application. All of the things Mr. Fitzgerald is concerned about in his letter happened. And it's still happening. It's not finished. It's still eroding. It's still washing away. And you walk the perimeter, I could step in places and you'll fall down 4 feet. Mr. Kirk and Mr. Masillo have done site visits and have seen this for themselves, and it keeps getting worse. I live in fear that the entire wall may collapse and take my whole yard with it. The yard's disappearing every day. The whole thing has been a nightmare for me and my family. I'm a widow. My daughter and my grandchildren are living in that house, and we couldn't let them go out to the backyard. It's 2 years. The things Mr. Fitzgerald is concerned about have become reality for me and my property. He is worried that the wall is not structurally adequate, that it may not be stable and resistant to overturning and sliding, that the materials, construction, and compaction are not adequate for the surface of the wall, that there is encroachment, and there is, that a grade elevation of 2 feet or more is necessary. Mr. Linder bypassed the entire variance process, which was designed to protect homeowners like myself. And now he wants you to approve what he did way after the fact, 2 years after the fact. And there is nothing in his application about correcting what he did to my property. Mr. Linder needs to do whatever it takes to have a proper retaining wall put in. He needs to restore my property, replace the trees, the shrubs, the grass, and the soil, and do whatever else is necessary to make it right. And the Township of Ocean needs to make sure that it is done according to the satisfaction of Mr. Fitzgerald and all the other township professionals. And it needs to be done right away. Mr. Linder has delayed this application for almost 2 years. And I'm telling you from my heart, I do not allow him on my property. Any work that has to be done, somebody from the township has to supervise it. I absolutely do not allow him on my property. As a homeowner and a taxpayer and township resident for 40 years, I'm looking to the council to protect my property and to protect my rights, and to stop delaying this, because I think I've tried to do everything patiently, and I am not a contentious person, but 2 years is enough.
Thank you.
Shall I reply to that?
Well, Bill,
Yes.
I have some questions.
Okay.
In your opinion, as an engineer, what has to be done, and what should be done, and how quickly should it be done?
Well, I think that all of the retaining wall needs to be on Mr. Linder's property. Whether he changes the design of the wall, the shape of the wall, whatever. Because he needs also to extend it. See, that's the problem. Apparently the old wall turned out the corners, because I was out there with Mr. Kirk on one of these inspections, and of course we saw exactly what we were told, that especially the easterly corner, it's eroding pretty badly. I mean, so I probably need to look at it again, but I'm going to tell you this, that I'm looking at these documents, okay? So just to get it clear, regardless, I have a survey here that shows the top of a wall of 51.7, and this plan that's Mr. Linder's, it tells me the top of the wall is going to be 54. That's a change of grade of more than 2 feet, however you cut it.
Okay.
I don't know what we're supposed to believe or not believe, but I'll go out there again and look at it. The problem is it's hard to solve the problem exactly or fully,
Right.
without really looking at it again in the field, because I don't have enough measurements, but without somehow, because there's a tree in that corner still, putting some type of a wing structure on the end to stop the erosion at the northeast corner of lot 12. But off the top, I haven't been there since last spring.
Well,
So I don't remember all the details.
May I say something?
1 second. My issue here is that this has been going on for a long time.
It has.
Okay, and our neighbor to the south, or to the south, is it right? Yeah,
Right.
has a problem with an eroding yard, and trees have been taken down, shrubs have been taken out. There's no stabilization of soil, and she's losing her yard. So, can we? I want this. I'd like to get this fixed as soon as we can.
Well, I'd like to go out there. I'll go out there tomorrow. I don't have a problem going out there tomorrow and taking pictures, and trying to come up with some suggestions. But off the top, I don't remember all the details. What we have consistently seen, this is the second engineer that Mr. Linder has brought in, said essentially the same thing and showed essentially the same retaining wall detail. I wouldn't have a problem with it except that it extends onto the other property.
Right.
So either it has to come forward so it's all on his property, or the wall has to have some type of a change so that all of it can be on his property and at least taken to his westerly and easterly boundaries and turned back somehow at least to his rear line.
Okay.
So that it would stop the erosion in her corner. But I don't remember the details what happens when you get east of her corner. The west side didn't seem to bother me as much in my recollection. We focused on the east side at that time because that was where if you stepped, you went sliding down from one lot to the other kind of thing.
Well,
And it's eroding.
my horror thinking about that is that the neighbor's property is eroding away
Right.
because of work that was done.
Or neglect or a number of things over the years. But the bottom line is I think that the situation got to be solved so that Mr. Linder can either move his fence down and avoid that variance or do whatever and just can't keep going on. It's been just going on forever.
Okay. Mr. Linder.
I love the saying that you say my fence. Let's begin with the retaining wall. What the purpose of the retaining wall? I have no problem in my property. Mr. Saka on 46.
But you made a problem on someone else's property.
I didn't make any problem. If you take a second and look at the pictures, if I'm not mistaken, in Sandy, the tree fell down. Am I right?
Yes, and
The tree fell down. Am I correct?
not there,
And knocked half
Wait,
of the.
let's
and
not,
knocked
wait,
half-
let's not have this dialogue.
I apologize. The tree in Sandy fell down on the east side and the
I'm
and
sorry,
the east.
for clarification purposes, in what year was Sandy?
2012.
Were you anywhere near the property in 2012?
No, sir.
Okay. I just want to get timelines. Thank you.
You
course.
bought.
It's
the
very
property
important that you
in
said the time, and I
2007.
appreciate it. It helped me actually. In
You bought the
2012.
property in 2017.
Correct.
Okay.
2012, Sandy, a tree fell down over there, a big tree, knocked third of the wall on the east side. The engineer said that it's sagging dirt over there. A tree fell down, knocked half of the retaining wall, if not third of it. And now that, if you see the picture that I gave the engineers over here, the retaining wall was on an angle. And one center tree was about to knock it out. The tree was in a 45 degree. It wouldn't knock the rest of the wall down.
Where along the property line was the tree?
The tree was right on the property line,
What about north side, middle?
in the middle.
In the middle. Well, because the survey
south-
here, Sandy was 2012 or so.
Right.
Okay, but the survey here that's dated 9/12/17 shows a tree.
The what?
The survey that you have here that was dated 9/12/17 shows a tree.
he's referring incorrectly.
But ma'am,
Yeah,
you have to speak into the
one at a
microphone.
time.
Hold
We'll
on,
get
hold
to
on.
it.
Please.
You'll be able to comment.
If I don't have it over here, I don't know which drawing you're looking at. There's no tree here.
See that tree?
That's
That,
the
you
middle
said the
tree.
middle. That's what you just said, the middle. That's
Yeah.
why I asked you. West, middle, east. You told me middle. There it is. That's not
That's
there.
the one that in 45 degrees. I took it out.
And it ruined the wall.
This one ruined the wall. Half of it.
But your survey in 17 didn't show that. It shows the wall going straight. Everything is fine there.
This is the
49.9, 51.7.
this is the wall that I built.
No, it's not. The wall that you built's 54.
So maybe they made the wrong calculation. We can. I'm not sure.
Mr. Fitzgerald,
And I also provided, I'm sorry, an engineer letter that's stating the wall was constructed and is good in its condition and it will sustain. As to the engineer asked me to retrieve a letter from engineer that the wall was constructed properly.
But the wall is on someone else's property.
That's what I was just going to
And-
ask him.
and there
How
was-
much on the? How much
Approximately
over?
2.5 feet.
2.5 feet?
Yeah.
I'm ready to vote.
The wall itself.
No, it's part of the wall. The block itself isn't, but the structural support behind it is. According to his engineer.
But it was there before.
It wasn't there before.
There was a retaining wall
You
before
didn't
there.
have any geogrid on property behind you before this
There
wall.
was a retaining wall before there. So why won't I
Telling you.
take? So let me take the retaining wall completely. Why do I have to rebuild it? I don't have a problem.
Take it down and grade it out. Long
Don't
as
need to do
long as
nothing.
it doesn't hurt her property, you can do whatever you want.
There was no retaining wall. There was a retaining wall was falling down before then, and the owner of the property of both properties.
No, wait.
You don't
Let's
have
not-
the right to cross the property
You
line.
did not. You owned your property for 40 years.
She didn't own it.
I owned it for 38.
38 years. So it's been her property. It wasn't Mr.
No,
Suggs.
no,
He bought
there
it.
was a change of ownership for
2 years.
personal reasons for 2 years in the middle. So Mr. Linder is totally correct. There were times when Mr. Saka owned both properties.
For 2
Having
years.
said that, you still can't construct improvements across the property line on residential
Right.
properties.
Right. There's two separate lots.
Exactly.
Okay.
Do
I
I just ask? Do you need a building permit? Restore the
I need to
Retaining
research
wall.
I don't get involved with permits, so
Up to
I don't
4
know
feet,
if we
you don't need a
for
permit.
walls or not. Everyone has ever done them. Well, going back, it used to be in this town there was an ordinance that said you had to do structural calculation to get a permit for any wall 36 inches or higher. It's apparently changed now, so I'm not totally.
I showed you that. I showed you when.
Yeah, I'm not arguing with you. I'm telling you. I said it
Okay,
changed.
so-
I don't know the details of it.
So
So I can't answer your questions the way you want them answered
short of
right
what,
now.
right? Short of what we heard here, because looking at the board, if we vote, you'll have to take the wall down. Okay. So what I would suggest is
Quick question. Take it. Let's say we vote. Take it down. What next? I don't want to
You have
rebuild
to
it.
put it up right
Why?
because
I don't
you
have a
did it
problem.
wrong. You don't
I have
have
to
a
do
problem.
it then.
You made.
Her wall was on the ground. It
You
fell down. I have
made
a picture.
you made a problem on someone else's property. You did something illegal.
It's not illegal. You're allowed to do it. The fourth.
He doesn't get it.
Hey, you just don't get it. You just don't get it.
Is
do
there
you?
any chance I
We-
can
we-
hire a lawyer and we can re-adjourn it? We don't.
But I have to tell you something. We're running out of time. I don't want to belabor this. This has been going on 2 years.
well,
I-
the only problem is he has to take the wall down. What does it do to the adjacent property? If he takes the wall down, what happens?
Yeah, I don't know how this all works out. That's I mean.
That's the only danger here. That he could be responsible to take the wall down, but what happens to her property
Well,
without a wall?
he'd have to put the wall back up in the proper
Now,
place.
can you open it to the public for a second?
Okay, I'm going to open it to the public for a
Just
second.
a point of information. Legally, if you deny it, and he takes the wall down, this board has no jurisdiction to require him to put one back up.
I agree.
So what would happen is, if more damage is done to the neighbor's property as a result of him taking the wall down, she could have a claim against him in court for damages. But this board, the only
Agreed.
jurisdiction this board has is either grant a variance or not. So if you're concerned about the neighbor's
Yeah,
yard
I think we need.
collapsing onto this property and her losing it, unless you want her to have to go to court and fight him,
I don't-
it's in everybody's best interest to figure out a way to make the
I-
wall
no, I-
work here so
that's
her
why-
property doesn't collapse into
I
it.
completely agree with you.
That's why I said what happens
I
when
want-
he takes the wall down. 'Cause
I
think
want
it
to.
hurts
I
him.
want.
You can't make him rebuild it.
I just want this to. I want this to work out, and I want to. But I don't want it to work out in another 2 years.
Can I ask you
Okay.
one question quickly?
Sure.
You're explaining that I built a wall, rebuilt the wall. I want to say I didn't build. I rebuilt the wall that was there, that fell down. Half of it fell down. I rebuilt it in the proper to standard to code today because I used the stone in the back on the adjacent property, which was the same owner. That's the illegal thing. There's no way to solve that problem with a permit or with a letter from or bringing here the owner that he owned both properties or do some application that allowing me to do that kind of work.
Well, I think what has to happen is we have to look at it and come up with a solution that works, and then sit down with owners and figure out how to prosecute the solution. and then bring it back to the board. I would, if it requires any zoning issues at all, and if it resolves all the zoning issues, then maybe it does not have to come back. I just don't know the answer right now.
Well, the only thing that baffles me is, and I don't want to deny something like this because then we really it would be a mess, but there was some type of retention, so the adjacent property did not have a problem with water and have a problem losing erosion. Okay, and the wall was rebuilt, and some of that wall is not on Mr. Linder's property. So we have to get that straight.
That's
Okay?
Yes.
So I need
Mr. Chair,
yes.
honestly, I think that if you adjourn this and give now that Mr. Linder understands that unless we work it out, nothing good is gonna happen here. Perhaps if you adjourn it and allow the neighbors to figure it out, I'm sure they will.
No, I cannot
You
deal
won't have
with
to.
this gentleman
Okay.
because
You-
every,
No, you won't have to.
It won't be you.
no.
But I believe she'd gladly give an easement to allow him to keep the footing on her property if the solution is reached such that her property is restored.
What's on my property is causing a problem.
I said it.
Well, yeah, let's.
Okay. All right.
You may
let's not be
you
that
may need that
specific.
retaining wall, but it may not be properly installed, or there may be another situation on your side which can be built up to protect you.
Well, we have to move along. So we're gonna carry this to
The next meeting, and I think
the next meeting,
and Bill's going to explore it, right?
and we have to solve this.
Taking the wall down.
This is not working. So the next meeting is, when is the next meeting?
Can I say something quickly on the record before, because there's a little confusion,
Okay.
and the lady said that her ground, she's losing it now.
Right.
Her ground, half of her yard was about 3 feet below what it is now. The dirt that was dumped on her property, if I'm not mistaken, you asked for me when they were digging my boot.
Well,
I
that's
can bring.
a-
Please,
I'm sorry.
This
That's
is not
just-
your
this is-
I think you
Let's
need to
just get
carry
past
it
this.
here.
I'm just
Get
gonna
a
carry.
solution.
This case is carried to the next. When? Thank you.
So further public notice is going to be given.
Right.
We'll come up with a
He's
solution.
gonna come up with a
We'll talk
solution.
it out. You don't have to argue. We'll sit down, figure it out for everybody.
I
The
agree.
idea is to make it work for everybody.
That's what I want to do.
I understand.
Ask for water,
But soon we want to do it, so I'll get on it tomorrow.
Absolutely.
When's the next meeting?
May 16th.
Thank you.
No, that's what I said. What happens?
Okay.
Take the wall down. That's not going to help her. Then more of a
It's just made me crazy.
Down to 1 minute now, I'm telling you. We need to get out of this. This way we're gonna block you off.
You have to go back. 2 or 3 blocks.
I don't know why.
I just need to compose for a minute. I'm working on it.
So he's going to extend
Nah,
the
I'm
lease.
not, sorry, I'm just.
I'll stop in tomorrow.
Next case is case number 3, Sierra Works of New Jersey LLC, Block 3, Lot 7.01, 2123 Route 35, Oakhurst C2. This is an application to replace a metal
Thank you.
halide site and parking lot lights
Doing
with
pro bono
LED lights. Halide, did I say that right?
I wasn't going to let him do that because I agree with you. If you take the wall down, she
Attorney
can
for
say-
20 years I have never gotten up and interrupted a hearing that I wasn't a part of,
I have to tell you something.
Okay.
but I had to. But
Okay,
anyway.
carry on.
Carry on. Okay.
What he didn't.
Jennifer, you're
On
here.
behalf of the applicant.
Okay. Amy, please mark the packet.
Which one is this?
Sarah Works.
Okay.
Bill, do you have a report?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna make it verbal. This is sort of a no-brainer. This is the Gold Coast Cadillac site. The lighting plan was done before we had a formal lighting ordinance, but it was a very good plan for its day because they were working with us as we developed it. The poles are right, everything was metal halide. They now want to replace them with LEDs because they can get a state grant, make them energy efficient. The same pole height, same pole location, just replacing the heads. Because it's a different light and a different source, there's very minor technical variances from our lighting ordinance, so they need the bulk variances and technically an amended site plan because it's a different lighting plan. But it's a no-brainer.
Jennifer, you got 3 minutes.
I have nothing else to add.
Okay, there we go. So is
I just
is
moved the
everybody
plan in.
is everybody in agreement with this?
Yes, and I've actually heard from neighboring property owners, regarding it. I answered their questions. They were happy, and unless they're here tonight to say something else, I think we're.
No, just the plan will be A1, and that's revised through 3/16/18. Nope, 11/14/18.
Well, the site light photometric plan?
Yeah,
Jim, you didn't have anything to
Why
say,
don't,
did you?
what, revised 11, 16, 18 on
I know,
this?
he has 16 is wrong, it's 11/14/18. There's a typo in his report.
I had a typo.
Yeah, I'm looking right at
First
it.
time in my life.
We can date it 5, 15, 18 and revised
No, yeah,
11, 14, 18.
correct.
Having left first this evening.
Okay. And that would be, we would approve that site plan amendment. If we get that far. Okay. And the bulk variances, is he still out of sync with our ordinance? Bill?
Yes, text-
Yeah, they're minor bulk variances, and they're not even against a residential property.
What are the bulk
Just
variances?
it has to do with the illumination levels and the ratios, but they're very minor. It'd be a real hardship to make them change the pole locations.
Anyone from the board have any questions about this? Anyone from the public to be heard?
Make a motion, we close the public hearing.
By second.
Please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Forget a resolution.
Yes.
I don't know what they want.
Yes.
Action.
Positive resolution I
The
offer.
powers of resolutions. First you need a
Resolutions.
bulk variance because he's slightly, it's easier to do that way. Because I'm going to refer to the original site plan approval, which was a number of years ago, wasn't it? I have it.
Long time ago, early 2000s.
Yeah, I have it, but probably have the resolution.
Okay.
So the first thing is, of course, is the bulk variances because they're slightly out of sync with our current ordinance for illumination levels and ratios.
So one.
But they're close enough that they're fine. So that would be a bulk variance.
Second, it's 2 votes.
That, and then they want to amend the site plan to include this new photometric plan.
Correct.
Yes.
Need a second.
Second.
Amy, please call the roll.
Yes.
I'll figure it out.
Yes.
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 All right, the second is a site plan.
Well, amend the site plan to include the photometric plan that was now offered by Ms. Krimko into evidence. It'll be an amendment to the existing site plan,
Okay. Want to offer that?
I'll offer.
whenever that was approved.
Second.
Amy, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Thank you. Don't get up.
I'm just gonna put this away.
Okay. Next case is case number 4, Abraham and Elisa Hittery, block 53, lot 2, 234 Crosby Avenue, Deal Park, Zone R2. This is an application to construct a second floor addition with interior renovations, a 1-story rear addition, a covered front porch, a covered rear deck, an in-ground pool, and alterations of an existing garage into a cabana. There are variances required for front and rear and both side yard setbacks as well as maximum lot coverage. Attorney for the applicant, Jennifer Krimko.
Good evening, and just
Amy, please mark the packet.
before they read the report, just very briefly.
Sure.
This is a small ranch on an undersized lot. They're just looking to add a second story and a little tiny portion in the back. But in an effort to make the house look better aesthetically, they want to add a covered front porch and a covered rear deck. The house exists at a building coverage and setbacks that don't conform. So obviously the aesthetic improvements are exacerbating the building coverage and the setbacks are just exacerbated vertically. And that's really the sum and substance of the application. Jim
Where-
indicated in his report that he doesn't have an objection to the variances being granted,
Correct.
but would like to see the driveway expanded in the front for parking, even though we meet the parking requirement under recess. And while I understand,
I'm
Jim-
not so sure you do meet it under recess, because you've got 3 cars in a row,
Right.
tandem. And there's nothing in recess that approves that. They approve 2 in a row, where you have a garage and one behind it in the driveway.
There's not, I respectfully disagree with regard to the recess compliance.
It just, my thought is they should be able to have 2 cars and then tandem situation, a 20-foot wide driveway or 18-foot wide driveway in the front, so that they could have two cars.
But no more than 20.
Yeah.
No,
yes.
but he doesn't, the issue is, it's a small lot.
Right.
There's limited grass in the front already because of the size of the lot. They don't want to make the driveway wider in the front yard. Aesthetically, they're putting all this time and money into making this house more beautiful. They don't want to add pavement.
How
And they have ample parking,
how wide is the driveway now?
about 10 feet. And you can fit 3 cars right in a row.
Right. Yeah, in a row. Bill, do you have a report?
I don't have too much problem with it, Mr. Chairman. I mean, I would defer, as always, I say, notwithstanding planning considerations, the drainage is pretty minor. The drainage is generally very good. We asked for a few minor details. I understand their engineer has no problem with what I asked for. So, I don't often say this, but there is a little bit of on-street parking there, and I know it doesn't really count, but
Well, it actually does count under recess. You're allowed to, based on the particular, first of all, we meet recess. There's nothing in recess that prohibits parking in a row. But more importantly,
The survey in our packet is.
Sir,
it does allow for on-street parking as an alternative parking source. But again, I don't think Bill is I don't think Jim, I don't know why I do that every time. I don't think Jim is saying that we need to do this in order to meet any requirement. I think you're suggesting,
well, no, the garage is being eliminated. Putting a pool back there.
I think you're not saying we need to for a requirement, you're saying you think it's a good
In
idea.
terms of functionality.
And again, my clients don't mind pulling in and out.
So what's a lot? 70 foot wide.
Yeah.
70-foot wide.
So
So
if you
if
put
you
a
did 18
if you
feet,
put a
that's
wide
not-
driveway, it really is going to look silly, right?
And it's all gonna be parked right in the front yard.
I mean 70.
I'm not, pounding my fist on this. I just think it's a better
Okay.
solution.
I'm trying to figure out. I think my house had a 70-foot lot, and it had what? You got 1.5 cars in in back of each other.
well, you put a motorcycle stall there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right, so
Again,
you
we don't have a parking problem. There is parking on the street.
They have room for probably 2 cars to park on the street.
okay. So you're not hell bent on this, right?
No,
Okay.
no.
Can we get some testimony? What do you want? Like,
Are we?
real
Are,
people?
are we gonna hit? Are we gonna,
Yeah, I was gonna I was trying to expedite things so
Well,
the
let's not
architect.
expedite. Let's get some testimony.
All right.
Yeah, please.
I'm going to. So, why don't you come on up? Let's swear in the architect.
Please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Richard Volano, 2006 Highway 71, Spring Lake Heights, New Jersey.
Thanks. And Richard, you've testified here before.
Yes, I
Why don't you
have.
why don't you take the mic from Amy? Since you're gonna go over the plans. And if we could, we'll move into evidence A1 is the plot plan. Prepared by Insight Engineering. I just wanna get the correct revision date, revised through 1/17/19. And A2 is the architectural plans by Mr. Villano dated 11/5/18. All right, and Rich, just, I mean, I gave a broad overview. If you could just quickly confirm what I provided by way of background in the form of testimony.
Sure. The existing house is a ranch-style home with 2 bedrooms in it right now. And of course, the family's expanding, so we elected to put a second floor above this with 4 bedrooms, converting the downstairs to a single living area with an expanded kitchen, dining room, living room, and basically to take the existing detached garage and convert it into a cabana with some storage behind it. And that's just about it. I mean,
And
it's
I had indicated that the building coverage, mainly the increase in building coverage, is because you're adding a covered front porch and a covered rear porch. Is that correct?
that's correct, yes.
And that's the rear is for the sun and won't be seen from the street, and the front is obviously aesthetic to break up the facade. Otherwise, it would look pretty boxy.
Is it also for safety, like in the winter, so that you don't slip on the ice or anything
Sure.
like that?
Safety reasons, yes.
It's just nonsense.
I have a question about the cabana. I notice you have here no HVAC equipment will be installed. What's going to prevent winter freeze-ups of the sink, water closet, and kitchenette?
well, it's not going to be used, so they'll shut it down and put antifreeze in the lines.
Drain it. Okay.
Yeah, it'll drain it.
So it's only basically a one season. There's no living.
Existing, we're not adding it.
The pool's there?
No, the pool house is just a conversion.
Talking about the pool itself.
Oh, the pool counts towards,
Pervious.
impervious, sure.
Because we are going up from 23.8.
No, that's
No,
building.
That's building
You're
coverage.
looking at building.
Okay, building coverage.
Correct.
From
And-
33.8 to 31.
Right, and the increase is due to the covered porches and the small addition in the back.
And the fact that it's such a small lot.
Right, and the testimony was it's aesthetic and no impact from the street except positive based on the architecture.
And they are mitigating their stormwater.
Let's go back to the cabana for just 1 minute. So the cabana has a little kitchenette, but there's no. Is there a bath in that cabana?
Yeah, it's a bathroom.
Yeah, there's no HVAC. You can either have plumbing or HVAC. You can't have both. Once you have both, we have to come to you for use variance for a second dwelling.
Right.
So there's no chance of it being a bedroom in the summer.
No.
Okay.
That's all.
That's a
That's
cons-
all. I get you.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Any questions from the board?
So,
Thank you, Mr. Valano. Any questions from the public? No one here from the public to be heard? Okay. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion. We close the public hearing.
Second.
I forgot to ask something, and
ahead.
I do know Mr. Valano, and he wouldn't never do anything like this, but everything's gonna match, right? First floor is gonna match the second floor, colors, roof, everything.
Yes, as far as I know, we haven't gotten the colors yet.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
want to make sure we're going to get
The
a
siding, though, is
Yes,
gonna,
it'll all
yeah,
be consistent.
it'll all be
I
consistent.
do have 2 different types of siding, if that's what you're
No,
concerned
no,
with.
I
no.
know.
He just wants to make sure that the addition is all gonna
I
aesthetically.
had to ask. I had to ask.
Best architect around. You ask him, is he going to match the
I
color?
know. and
Look at that shirt he's got on. How can he not match the colors?
No. Listen, if Sam was still here, I'd have to ask
Huh?
Sam the same question.
You going
Okay.
to match the colors, Rich?
All right. So, did you call the roll for the public hearing?
Yes.
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 Action.
Offer for a positive resolution.
Second.
Amy, please call the roll.
9:30.
Yes.
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 Thank you, gentlemen. Happy Passover.
Thank you. Happy Easter. Happy
Easter.
Passover.
To the left, happy Passover. To the right, happy
You were
Easter.
brilliant.